So I like what you're doing there. What are you using?
I'm using a splatter technique to build up the foreground. There's browns, there's greens in it. I'm trying to establish the basic colours that I see at the edge here. I'm going to try and get this bank to bend here, and then I'm going to keep that bank there brown. I'm going to drag all this to show through here the lovely reeds that are moving, obviously coming towards me as the current comes this way. Leaving that as a highlight there because I want to establish that, and I just want to put a wall in now at the end, so I've got something blocked in, a bit more permanent, and then I can then start establishing. So I've used a bit of black and a bit of green.
So what we're looking at today is very, very green, and I hear that green's the most difficult colour to paint with. Why is that?
It's very hard because it's hard to modulate a lot of green colours together. So you've got to try and make them work together, and sometimes you just don't want to. It's a colour that is tonally. There's a lot of differences. Greens are here. Lots and lots of colour going on, lots of sort of variations of green, and to try and balance that is quite difficult, and the best way of doing that is to limit your colour palette really.
And what are you using? Are you using oil or watercolour or acrylics or...?
All of it.
All of it?
It's going to be a mix of every colour. So.
And is that really typical of your painting style?
Yeah, there'll be a lot of layers in a piece of picture, a painting, lots of layers built up. So currently this is a undercolour, if you like, seeing what works. Some of it will be obliterated, some I'll keep. Try and establish the brown through here, so I might put a bit of brown coming through here as a colour reference. There's a stick here. I need to put this piece of the river just here with the perspective. It's quite nice. I've got the river running out to the bank here, so it goes dark under there. So I'm just trying to block in the tree. That's going to stay there because I like the sense of the tree being a dynamic, so I want it to be tall, and it comes down through in here. And then there's the crisscross across the picture of the different greens, etc., but there's no point in putting them on until we've got all the base colours in. So I'm starting to get rid of the white ever so gradually, because I will probably keep some of the highlights, and then the other highlights I'll put on top using oil pastel, white chalk, charcoal. These are the things you can build on top of a base layer of washes. You can then build up texture, and I think that's what gives the pictures, that's what people like, is quite a textural painting. It's neither an oil painting nor an acrylic, it's really a mixed media, a process which I'm trying to develop, and that's what makes it interesting and exciting to do. I don't know what it's going to look like. It's not just going to be a safe painting in a certain style. It's going to evolve and change, and that's really interesting to paint. Whereas if it was just an acrylic, then I could take a photograph and just copy it slavishly, but different materials lend themselves to the different effects I'm trying to get. So some of it will look, some of this I won't see, but I know it's there. Some of it I'll use, some of it I'll get rid of.
Because it's interesting how you're putting splatter marks in even before you put in background colour.
Well, I'm just seeing how it's going to look. For example, that lot's starting to look like a shadow running through there, which is quite nice. This is coming into here, and it actually does appear in the river, so I'll work with that. So therefore, if I just bring that in there, I'm starting to get some reflections on the river, and I haven't really done an awful lot yet, but I'm starting to build I think is quite an interesting picture. You know, there's a lot going on in the water here, but it's quite horizontal. It comes towards me, so I can then just get some of the dark reflections coming through here, in here like this, working through here. So starting to build quite a nice series, groups of colour already. It's quite dark under here, so I'm starting to get the sort of effect that I want. And I've only really used ink so far and a bit of thin down watercolour and acrylic. So by the time I work in, for example, the direction of the water coming through this tributary here and around it, coming around here and going past me there, deep under here, although I'm not probably going to change that because I'm going to put all this in here, the greenery. What I now need to make sure I've got a bank is a bit of the sort of brown and the beige and brown of the bank. So I can just put that in because it sort of comes into here. Put that there, then I see.
So will this need to dry before you can apply your oils and acrylics?
Yeah, which is hence I'll either come back or I'll work on it, let it dry out. If I'm here for 3 or 4 hours, then this dries in minutes just in the sunshine because it's very thin layers. So there's the bank I'm working towards. That disappears there. Then there's trees and things, so I'll mark that in there. And then this is the ford, make that a bit thinner. It goes along there. And start building up the colours. But that is established as a pretty okay. I'm happy with that as a structure. There's a lot of lime green up here. There's a lot going on up here, so I will probably go back with that reference which balances in here. So I will use, it's just some thickened yellow acrylic, which I don't want it too bright, but the sky's quite light and yellow, which is rather nice, so I need to work with that. This is why I tend to put a base colour in, otherwise I've got to then pick out all these gaps, which is difficult. If I block all this in very quickly, it will look
People often ask me how long a painting takes from start to finish, and I kind of say, well, it depends on the painting. Some he does very quickly and others will take weeks and weeks. How would you answer that?
Yeah, it depends on how it goes really. To start with, I think there's an awful lot of adding and taking away, so you get quite caught up in whether that's too yellow to start with. So if you can get the basic colours down, the actual colours quickly, then there is still all the different layers that I want to put on the picture.
And I can see that you're not just using paintbrushes. You've got, what are you using there?
That's a bit of tissue, which means I can block the colours in really quickly.
And then what else have you got down here? You've got, I can see you've got toothbrushes.
Yeah, I'll be using that in a minute.
Rollers. I've even seen you with cardboard.
Yeah.
So you don't need to spend a lot of money on posh brushes.
I don't. And if you do, don't forget you can use the wrong end of the brush as well, because that's quite handy. So we're establishing colour. There's a lovely bit of green highlight there, which I'm going to remember. A bit around there, so I'm sort of establishing my highlights where I want the light in the picture now. There's a lovely area of light through here. I'm going to probably put the reflection of the trees in there, starting to get the sense of this is the structure of the picture. There is all the thorn The bank here is quite, this has got greenery on it here and in here, so if I just dab in amongst it, I'm leaving some highlights to remind myself of the flowers, which is one of the reasons I'm here. They look rather beautiful. And I've got the sense of now the river. I've got to work the shadow through here in a minute because that's quite important where I want it. The trees, there is a paler white light to the left I can see, and there's a lighter sky at the top of the picture, which I need, so I'm going to put that in before I forget it. Up here there's a bit of blue which I need to just take a lot of this off, but obviously what I'm trying to do is have uniformity. So if I want a yellow kind of bright sky, then I've got to just let that dry. So while I let that bit dry a bit, I can obviously take it off. I can take some layers of it off, which is when I talk about adding and subtracting. If I just let that be for the time being, what I want to do really is, I've got some nice watercolour and drawing ink, and they're going to be the brighter green that I want to establish in the picture. So